A king is pacing on a rooftop at dusk, and he is not where he is supposed to be. The text says so in its opening breath, so quietly most readers skate past it. In the spring, at the time when kings go off to war, David sent Joab out with the whole Israelite army. But David remained in Jerusalem. At the time when kings go off to war, his men are sleeping on the ground at the siege of Rabbah, doing the thing kings exist to lead. And the king is at home, on the height of the city, where, for the first time in a ferociously eventful life, there is absolutely nothing that needs doing. Hold that detail, nothing that needs doing. Everything that follows comes out of it. Because this is not, at bottom, a story about lust. It is a story about what an unaccountable man does with an empty evening. And to feel the size of the fall, you have to know the height. Quick word if you're new. This series walks the genealogy at the front of Matthew's Gospel, the list of names everybody skips, one guest at a time. 3 threads: power, grace, providence. Today the series changes gear. 6 episodes of household scale power. A patriarch over a slave, a father-in-law over a widow, a landowner over a gleaner. Tent flap power, small thrones. Now the family gets a real one. Armies, taxes, a capital city, a palace with a roof on it. I'll be straight with you. It goes worse. He enters the story as an afterthought, the youngest son, out with the sheep, not even summoned when the prophet came to anoint one of his brothers. In his own family photograph, David wasn't in the frame. The overlooked one again. It's practically the family crest. Then the legend assembles itself, and every scene is the best version of its kind. The valley of Elah, the hop that reached the darkness in Saul's mind, the friendship with Jonathan, the crown, the city, the ark brought up the hill with dancing. But here is the part to hold on to, because the rooftop makes no sense without it. A decade on the run from a jealous king, and twice the story hands him Saul, asleep, helpless at the end of a spear. His own men whisper that God has delivered the enemy into his hand. Both times David refuses. I will not lift my hand against the Lord's anointed. He cuts a corner from Saul's robe, and is conscience-stricken about the robe. This is a man with a proven, exceptional capacity to not take what is within his reach. Restraint under provocation is his signature move. He is famous for it. And through the prophet Nathan, remember that name, he receives the promise this whole series is tracing. Your house and your kingdom will endure forever. Abraham's covenant now has an address. Matthew's genealogy hangs from this nail. When verse 1 says son of David, this promise is what the words mean. David reigned over all Israel, doing what was just and right for all his people. He is about 50, he has everything, and he has been demonstrably able to be trusted with it, for longer and under more pressure than almost anyone in Scripture. Which brings us back to the roof. There are episodes in this series where the jokes stop. This is the first. The narrator of 2 Samuel 11 editorializes exactly once in the chapter's last sentence. Until then, it is all verbs. Watch the verbs. One evening, David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of the palace. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. She is at her own home, performing a ritual washing prescribed by the law, a commanded thing in the place where she lives. The narrator has planted that detail. It will detonate shortly. The palace stands on the height. He is above, she is below. He sees her. Nothing suggests she knows. And David sent someone to find out about her. There is the first verb of the disaster. Sent, count how often it returns. This chapter is a study in what a king can do without leaving his roof. And the report that comes back is not information. It's a warning, phrased as an answer. Isn't this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, and the wife of Uriah the Hittite? 2 names, deliberately. Her father is one of David's elite warriors. Her husband is another, one of the 30 who bled for him in the wilderness. She is not an anonymous beauty. She is family, in the way an army is family. That report is a servant saying, as plainly as a servant can, Sire, you know these people. Then David sent messengers to get her. The Hebrew is blunt. He sent and he took her. the exact words Samuel used a generation earlier, warning Israel what a king would be. He will take your sons, your daughters, your fields. She came to him, and he slept with her. Then she went back home. And I have to say plainly what the silences mean, because centuries of paintings and sermons have filled them with a story the text does not tell. A temptress on a roof, a seduction, an affair between equals. Read the verbs again. He saw, he sent, he inquired, he was warned, he sent, he took. Every verb of initiative belongs to David. She is given none. She is the object of those sentences, never the subject. Nor could she have been. Who in that world refuses a king's summons? There is no no available in that room that does not endanger her and her whole household. When every card is held by one side, the language of romance does not apply. The text knows exactly what it is describing. It is describing a king taking, and then the only words the narrative gives her in the entire chapter. The woman conceived and sent word to David, saying, I am pregnant. 3 words in the Hebrew, a fact and an abyss. Her husband has been at the front all season, and the ritual bath, planted in the 2nd verse, has already established that she was not pregnant before the king sent for her. There is exactly one man in Jerusalem who can be the father, and in a matter of months, everybody will be able to count. What follows should frighten us most. This is not David overwhelmed. Passion is long gone. This is David, cold, resourceful, administratively himself, going to work on a problem. And the problem is a person. Send me Uriah the Hittite. Plan A. Bring the husband home on a pretext. Ask him how the war is going. Send him down to his own house for a night. Let the arithmetic blur. Go down to your house and wash your feet. And a gift follows him from the royal table. David charming to the last. And Uriah doesn't go home. He sleeps at the palace entrance among the servants. And when David, needing this to work, asks him why, Uriah delivers, without knowing it, the most devastating speech in the chapter. The ark and Israel and Judah are staying in tents. My commander Joab and my lord's men are camped in the open country. How could I go to my house, to eat and drink and make love to my wife? As surely as you live, I will not do such a thing. Every clause lands like a verdict. The ark in a tent, while David paces a palace roof. The army in the field, where the king should be. How could I go to my house and lie with my wife? How indeed? And notice who is saying it. A Hittite. A foreigner, the outsider, seeing clearly. Our oldest pattern, keeping Israel's codes with his whole body, while Israel's king dismantles them from a rooftop. The cover-up fails precisely because the man being deceived is better than the man deceiving him. Plan B, David gets him drunk. Drunk, Uriah still has more discipline than the sober king. He sleeps among the servants again. And so Plan C. The next morning David writes a letter to Joab, seals it, and hands it to Uriah to carry. The man transporting, faithful and unknowing, his own death warrant. Put Uriah out in front, where the fighting is fiercest. Then withdraw from him, so that he will be struck down and die. This is not a crime of passion. Passion never wrote so precise a sentence. It is an operational order, a murder laundered as a casualty. And to make it plausible, other men have to die alongside Uriah. And David, who once tore his clothes at the death of the king who hunted him, sends back a shrug for the men he has just killed. Say this to Joab, don't let this upset you. The sword devours one as well as another. These things happen. War is war. Carry on. The sword devours one as well as another. From the man who ran at Goliath shouting about the living God. That is the true bottom of this episode. Lower than the roof, lower than the letter. The sound of a conscience successfully anesthetized. The cover-up has worked. She mourns her husband, 1 verse, and when the mourning is over, David has her brought to his house. She becomes his wife and bears him a son. The book's close, months pass, nobody knows. And then the narrator, silent all chapter, spends his single sentence. But the thing David had done displeased the Lord. The Lord sent Nathan to David, same verb, sent, the one that has driven this whole chapter, and now it changes hands. The king has sent every message. Heaven sends the last one. And Nathan doesn't arrive with an accusation. He arrives with a case, the sort of grievance subjects brought their king daily, aimed like the stone from the sling. There were two men in a city, one rich, one poor. The rich man had flocks and herds past counting. The poor man had one small ewe lamb, which grew up with his children, sharing his food, drinking from his cup, sleeping in his arms. It was like a daughter to him. A traveler came to the rich man, and the rich man, unwilling to take from his own abundance, took the poor man's lamb and killed it, and served it for dinner. And David, the shepherd, who killed lions and bears for lambs like that, who has spent months not looking at what he is, erupts. As surely as the Lord lives, the man who did this must die. He must pay for that lamb 4 times over, because he did such a thing, and had no pity. He has just convicted himself, at maximum sentence, under oath, out of his own mouth. And Nathan says 2 words in the Hebrew, Atahayish, you are the man. Then the indictment, the power thread of this entire series, spoken aloud by God. I anointed you king over Israel. I delivered you from the hand of Saul. I gave you all Israel and Judah. And if all this had been too little, I would have given you even more. You struck down Uriah the Hittite with the sword, and took his wife to be your own. I gave, and I would have given more, and you took. The rich man with the flocks past counting took the one lamb. The king, who had everything, still took more. Abundance did not make taking unnecessary. Nothing makes taking unnecessary. The appetite is not in the circumstances. It is in the man. And power's terrible gift is to remove everything that ever contradicted him. What David does next is the reason he is still, after all of it, David. No court in Israel can try him. Nathan has no army. Kings in David's position kill the prophet, or laugh, or explain. David says 4 words in the Hebrew. No qualifier, no mitigation. Not one syllable of the machinery he has spent a whole chapter operating. I have sinned against the Lord. That is the entire confession, and its bareness is its greatness. The man who could improvise his way out of anything declines, at last, to improvise. And Nathan's reply is immediate. The Lord has taken away your sin. No probation, no groveling demanded. Forgiveness arriving faster than the confession's echo. But this series has promised not to soften its stories. Forgiveness in Scripture cancels condemnation. It does not cancel consequence. The child conceived on the rooftop sickens and dies. And Nathan had said more. The sword will never depart from your house. And it never does. The rest of the rain reads like the rooftop refracted through his own children. A son takes his sister, as David took Bathsheba. A brother kills that son, as David killed Uriah. Absalom's rebellion drives the king barefoot out of his own city. He is forgiven. Genuinely, fully. The text insists on it. And nothing is ever the same again. Both things are true. And the refusal to collapse them into each other is the story's terrible honesty. And yet, in due time she bears a second son, and they name him Solomon. And the text adds a sentence of almost unbearable quietness. The Lord loved him, and sent word through Nathan, the prophet, to name him Jedediah, beloved of the Lord. The same prophet who carried you, or the man carries the baby's love name. Out of the aftermath of the worst thing David ever did, comes the child through whom the promise runs. Not because the sin was secretly good. The text never breathes such a thing. But because grace in this family has never once waited for clean material. The heir of the eternal covenant is the son of the rooftop's widow. Matthew noticed. The 3 threads. Power, the loudest it has ever been, and the template for every episode that follows. Power did not corrupt David's character so much as unfetter it. Every earlier test of this man was taken under constraint. Saul's spear, the wilderness, enemies who could answer back. Under constraint, he was magnificent. The rooftop is the first scene of his life with no constraint in it at all. And inside that vacuum, the man with history's most proven restraint takes, covers, kills, and shrugs, in about the time it takes a besieged city to fall. The lesson is not David was secretly wicked. The lesson is worse. Nobody's character is load-bearing without walls. and a throne is the systematic removal of walls. And set Boaz beside him, because the series built the comparison on purpose. Two men of the same line, each holding total power over a vulnerable woman, at night. The threshing floor and the rooftop. Same cards, opposite play. Power reveals. Grace, quiet and scandalous in its own key. Grace's first mercy here is the sending of Nathan. The worst available fate was getting away with it. He is forgiven at a speed that offends every instinct of proportion. And the tradition's verdict, a man after God's own heart, is never revoked. Not leniency. Every consequence lands. Just the refusal of God to let the worst chapter be the last word about the man. Providence. A whisper. And a deliberately uncomfortable one. Of all David's sons, by all his wives, the covenant line runs through the child of the marriage that began with a taking and a murder. Let the discomfort stand. The text does. Providence here has never meant God authoring the sin. It means God refusing to let sin have the final edit. And it brings the next link of the promise through the wronged woman herself. Providence does not launder the story. It outlasts it. What Matthew's doing. Now watch Matthew write this into the pedigree. It is the sharpest edit in the genealogy. He could have written David the father of Solomon and lost nothing legally. That's the form he uses for nearly everyone else. He could have written by Bathsheba, matching Tamar, Rahab, and Ruth. Instead, uniquely, he writes, David was the father of Solomon by the wife of Uriah. The wife of Uriah, in the honor document of the Messiah, at the summit of the list, in the verse where the family finally gets its crown, a permanent four-word indictment. Uriah, the murdered Hittite, memorialized forever in the ancestry of Jesus. David identified, at his moment of glory, by his worst act. Every reader who recites the genealogy recites the crime. It is as if a royal family, engraving its lineage into a cathedral floor, chiseled beside the founder's name, and the woman he took from the man he killed. No genealogist in the ancient world, handed a golden age king to showcase, volunteers the skeleton. Matthew doesn't merely volunteer it. He makes it the king's identifying tag. Matthew did not have to mention this. He mentions it because his list is making an argument about what kind of king this family produces, and what kind of kingdom the last name on it will run. And he mentions it, I'm convinced, for Uriah's sake, and for hers. Reflection. One question, from the roof. The most frightening fact here is not the taking. It isn't even the letter. It's the sequence. The sin was committed by the best man in the story so far, whose restraint had held under a decade of provocation, at the precise season of his life when he had, for the first time, everything to lose and nobody able to say no. Sin with much to lose behaves differently from sin with nothing to lose. It doesn't confess, it administers. It sends, arranges, drafts letters, manages optics, and calls the wreckage regrettable. Because the alternative is the collapse of everything you've built. David's months of silence between the rooftop and Nathan were not peace. They were project management. So, what is your version of remaining in Jerusalem? The corner of your life where you have quietly become unaccountable. Successful enough that nobody questions you. Tired enough that you've stopped going where your duties are. That's the roof. And then the harder one underneath it. Who is your Nathan? Who is able and allowed and close enough to say, you are the man to you, and be heard. If a name comes to mind, keep them close and make it easy for them. And if no name comes to mind at all, David would want you to know that this is exactly how it felt, right up until the knock at the door. And that by then, the letter had already been sent. Comments if you're willing. The story you have just watched had a woman in it who was given 3 words. I am pregnant. That is her entire recorded voice, while around her the men fill pages. David's schemes, Uriah's speech, Joab's stagecraft, Nathan's parable, the king's confession, the king's grief, the king's psalm. She is seen bathing, sent for, taken, sent home, widowed, married, delivered of a dying child, delivered of Solomon. And through all of it, the text records her feelings not once. Even Matthew, 1,000 years later, will not write her name. Some silences are erasures. This one, I'm going to argue, is an indictment of everyone in the story except her. But a silence that long, wrapped around a woman that important, deserves what the other 3 women on this list have had. The story, told again, from her side. Because here's what almost nobody remembers about the woman from the rooftop. She outlives nearly everyone in the story. And the next time we see her clearly, decades on, she walks into a king's bedroom with a prophet at her back and makes the future happen. Her name, say it, since the record wouldn't, is Bathsheba. One last thing, and then I'll let you go. Everything in this series comes out of a book, The Family Nobody Would Have Chosen. It's the long version of what you've just heard. Grace, power, and providence traced right through the genealogy of Jesus, name by name, with all the material there simply isn't room for in a single video. Same road, same guest list, more time to walk it. The link is in the description, but the videos stay free, and there are 21 more of them coming. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.